Beneath the veil of the mundane, where the noise of the world deafens the soul, lies a profound truth. Your vitality, your very essence, the vibrant frequency that is uniquely yours, is under siege. Not by external aggressors in the way you might imagine, but through insidious, almost imperceptible channels. What if I told you that the exhaustion you carry, the emotional turmoil that grips you, the feeling of being constantly affected by others, stems from an ancient knowledge obscured by time? What if the Sabadoria ancestral spoke of ways your most vital force leaks away, unknown to you? This isn't about merely feeling tired. It's about the erosion of your energetic sovereignty. Stay with me. Together, we will peer into these mysterios occultos. If this quest for reclaimed power resonates, press that like button, share your deepest reflections in the comments below, and subscribe to anchor yourself to this path of Illumina Ka Spiritual. Our journey begins by acknowledging the unseen. Drains. These are the fugus energeticus, the energetic leaks. Consider your very being as a confluence of energia cosmica, a vibrant field meant to flow and replenish. Yet, this vital current is subtly siphoned away, not stolen, but conceded, through countless unconscious interactions and internal states. Every moment spent dwelling on perceived slights, every energy invested in resisting what is, every automatic emotional response. These are not merely psychological events. They are energetic concessions. The Sabadoria Ancestral spoke of maintaining the integrity of the luminous body, warning against the unnoticed dissipation caused by disharmony. Think of the constant effort required in certain social dynamics, the mental loop replaying past events, the subtle tension held in the body from unexpressed truth. These are not passive states. They are active drains. The mysterios occultos whisper that these leaks are often indicators, points of vulnerability that reveal deeper patterns frequently awakened by triggers. Almost as if external events are merely keys to unlock ancient internal chambers, draining the light from within. These external triggers, these perceived disturbances, are not random assaults. They are, in fact, precise calibrations designed to locate and exploit those very leaks. The alchemy interior begins with this stark recognition. The enemy is not outside, but the unconceded energy within that reacts to the outside. Every reaction that drains you, fear, anger, resentment, anxiety, is a signature of an unhealed breach in your energetic field, a point where your vital energia cosmica escapes. The ancient masters, custodians of the Sabadoria Ancestral, understood this intimately. Their textos prohibidos, often hidden away from the uninitiated, precisely because they revealed this level of energetic mechanics, described the luminous body, not as a static form, but a dynamic field requiring conscious stewardship. They spoke of how emotional dissonance acts like acid on this field, dissolving its coherence, creating fissures through which your power bleeds. Consider the simple act of worrying about the future. It's not just mental chatter. It's an energetic projection, a fragment of your life force sent out into hypothetical scenarios, draining the present moment of its potency. Think of past grievances replayed endlessly. Each loop is a tether, anchoring your energy in a dead time, preventing its circulation for current vitality or future creation. The Mysterios Occultos teach that these tethers and projections are visible on other planes, like glowing threads leading from your core, power to points of past pain or potential fear, constantly siphoning. This isn't just about feeling tired. It's about losing sovereignty over your own life force, the very fuel for conscious creation and Illumina Ka Spiritual. Reclaiming this energy isn't about fighting the triggers. It's about healing the leaks they expose. It's about transforming the internal landscape so that when the key turns, it finds no lock to open, no fissure to exploit. This transformation is the essence of Alchemia Interior, transmuting the lead of reactive energy into the gold of conscious power. The Sabidoria Ancestral emphasized practices not of suppression, but of conscious redirection and sealing of these energetic boundaries. They knew that true strength lay not in resisting external forces, but in making oneself impenetrable through internal coherence. The flow of Energia Cosmica is hindered by these leaks. Imagine a hose with holes. The water pressure drops. The flow is diminished. Your spiritual pressure, your capacity for higher consciousness, is similarly affected. The path to Illumina Ka Spiritual is paved with the conscious recovery of this dissipated energy. But why are these triggers so consistently effective, almost universally targeting specific human vulnerabilities? Is it merely the randomness of life, or is there a design behind the keys? And so we return to this fundamental question. Why are Mayo, these triggers, so consistently effective, so universally potent? It is because they do not create the fissures. They merely exploit the ones already present, the myriad subtle cracks and porous points that constitute what we might call energy leaks. These are not always the dramatic tethers of trauma or the bold projections of fear we discussed earlier. More often, they are the quiet, insidious seepages that occur moment by moment in the mundane fabric of your existence. Consider the countless unexamined thoughts that ripple through your mind each day. Every judgment passed, every worry entertained, every fantasy indulged without conscious intention. These are not merely passive mental events. The Mysterios Occultos reveal that each creates a tiny vortex, a miniature whirlpool, pulling subtle energy away from your core. A single fleeting thought of resentment, if not observed and released, attaches a fine, almost invisible thread, a tiny leak that persists as long as the emotional charge remains unaddressed. Compound this with the endless loops of anxiety about the future or regret about the past, and you have a constant, low-grade hemorrhage of vital force. Then there are the emotional reactions, the tidal waves, or even the stagnant pools within. The unexpressed anger, the suppressed sadness, the petty irritation that you dismiss but never truly process. Each locks a portion of your energetic capacity into a state of tension or stagnation. It is like leaving a faucet slightly open. The drip is negligible at first glance, but over time, the volume of water lost is staggering. Your interactions with others are rife with such potential leaks. A conversation filled with gossip siphons energy through shared negativity. An unresolved conflict leaves a gaping wound that bleeds energy until it is healed or sealed. Even the passive consumption of information, the endless scroll through digital feeds that bombard your senses with disparate, often discordant energies, creates a form of energetic dispersion, a scattering of your vital attention and force into myriad external points. The Sabidoria Ancestral understood that true power resides not just in accumulating energy, but in retaining it. They recognized that these countless small leaks, far more than grand energetic assaults, are the primary culprits behind the pervasive spiritual fatigue and disconnection plaguing humanity. Your capacity for deep concentration, for sustained creativity, for genuine empathy, and most critically, for achieving states of Illumina Ka Spiritual, is directly dependent on the integrity of your internal energetic vessel. Imagine trying to fill a bucket that is riddled with pinholes. No matter how much water you pour in, be it through meditation, conscious practice, or receiving Energia Cosmica, the level remains stubbornly low, perhaps never rising above certain threshold. This constant drainage maintains a state of energetic scarcity, leaving you vulnerable to external influences and perpetually focused on merely surviving rather than thriving. The Alchumia interior is in large part the art and science of identifying and sealing these myriad leaks. It is the process of transforming porous, reactive consciousness into an integrated, self-contained field of energy. Some fragmented whispers found in certain long-forgotten textos prohibidos described precise energetic anatomy and the points most susceptible to these subtle outflows, offering practices to mend them, practices often dismissed as mere superstition. By later, more materialistic ages doubt the cumulative effect of these everyday leaks is profound. It is not just about feeling drained, it is about the slow erosion of your very capacity for conscious awareness and presence. You become a vessel that cannot hold the higher frequencies, cannot sustain the potent charge necessary for profound shifts in consciousness. The question then deepens. If these leaks are so inherent in our daily patterns, our thoughts, our emotions, our interactions, how did they become so pervasive? Are they simply the inevitable consequence of being in a physical form? Or is there perhaps a more complex architecture to this reality, one that encourages or even cultivates these energetic vulnerabilities? What if these leaks are not merely flaws, but features designed to keep the vessel perpetually just below its potential capacity? If the vessel leaks, if energy dissipates through countless micro fissures in the fabric of awareness, then we must ask, what pries open these cracks most violently? What acts as the most potent, the most consistent, the most insidious agent of energetic dispersion? Look inward. Observe the moments when your carefully constructed composure shatters, when a seemingly innocuous word, a fleeting image, a particular tone of voice ignites a conflagration within. These, my friend, are the triggers. They are not the source of the fire, but rather the keys that unlock chambers holding combustible material you have either ignored, disowned, or actively buried. Consider these triggers as potent doors, not merely psychological reactions, but energetic portals. Portals that swing wide open to reveal what modern parlance has termed the shadow. This concept, articulated in various forms across different eras and cultures, from the demons of ancient thought to the psychological complexities described by later explorers of the psyche, speaks of the parts of ourselves that we have relegated to the unconscious, the attributes, desires, fears, and wounds deemed unacceptable by our conscious self or by the external world. The Sabiduria Ancestral, in its understanding of the complete human being, always acknowledged the necessity of confronting these internal landscapes, often cloaked in the language of mythological beasts or hidden realms within the soul. The Textos Prohibidos, those fragments whispered about in hushed tones, are rumored to contain specific insights into the anatomy of this shadow, detailing not just its psychological aspects, but its energetic signature and how it interacts with the greater field of Energia Cosmica. When a trigger is pulled, it bypasses the conscious filter and directly activates the stored, unprocessed energy of the shadow. It's akin to striking a hidden nerve ending that sends a shockwave through the entire system. The energy that should be available for conscious thought, for creative expression, for connection to the higher frequencies of Illumina Ka spiritual, is instantly hijacked. It is diverted into the tumultuous, reactive whirlpool of the unconscious. We find ourselves caught in patterns of defense, attack, withdrawal, or frozen inertia, all automatic, energy-consuming responses dictated by the wounded or repressed parts of the self. This is where a colossal amount of energetic leak occurs, not through a passive drip, but a forceful torrent. The unconscious reactions generated by the shadow in response to triggers consume vast resources, preventing the accumulation and coherent direction of energy necessary for true alchemia interior. This mechanism begs a profound question, one touching upon the deepest mysterios occultos. If these triggers are so effective at diverting our vital energy and keeping the shadow in control, are they simply inherent flaws in our design? Or could they be strategically placed, either by the architecture of reality itself or by forces external to us, to ensure we remain tethered to lower frequencies, our potential for transcendence perpetually undermined? What if the world around us is not merely a stage for our triggers, but is actively designed to press these buttons, to keep the doors to the shadow wide open, ensuring a perpetual state of energetic depletion? What then of the ancient practices aimed not at avoiding triggers, but at consciously walking through the doors they open? Ah, but the soil where these insidious triggers take root, the very bedrock upon which the edifice of our energetic vulnerabilities is constructed, is laid in the fertile ground of childhood. It is there, in the tender years, when the self is still forming, still pliable, that the deepest programs are written, the initial breaches in our energetic sovereignty occur. Consider the child, an open vessel of pure energia cosmica, instinctively, expressing the full spectrum of being: joy, rage, fear, wonder. What happens when this natural, unfiltered expression is met with disapproval, fear, punishment, or simply a lack of understanding? The child, needing connection and safety above all else, learns to compress the vastness of emotion, to stifle the spontaneous impulse, to hide the parts deemed unacceptable. This repression is not a passive act. It is an immense expenditure of vital force, a constant internal negotiation where authenticity is traded for perceived security. The child adopts roles: the good child, the silent child, the clown, the perfect achiever, not out of conscious choice, but as a desperate, energetic strategy to minimize pain and maximize acceptance. Each adopted role is a heavy cloak, woven from suppressed truth and fear, demanding perpetual energy to maintain its shape. This is the genesis of giving away one's energy. It starts internally, by fragmenting the self and dedicating energetic resources to holding the fragments. Apart, then it extends outward. The fear of displeasing learned in childhood translates into an adult who cannot say no, whose boundaries are porous, whose very presence is calibrated to the perceived needs or moods of others. This people-pleasing is constant scanning for external validation, this avoidance of conflict at all costs. These are not personality traits, but complex energetic strategies rooted in deep conditioning, each action leaking vital force. The energy that should be accumulating for Illumina Ka spiritual, for alchemy interior, for authentic creation, is instead siphoned off, given away in myriad subtle and not so subtle transactions driven by the old, unexamined programming. Are the patterns that become our default operating system. They are written so early, so deeply, that they feel like us. But they are not. They are the ghosts of childhood survival strategies, perpetually active, ensuring that the energetic gates remain open, allowing our power to drain away. It is no wonder that the study of the self, of true energetic mastery, often begins with unearthing these foundational layers. Certain ancient Sabidoria ancestral understood this profound impact of early life, recognizing that the key to reclaiming lost energy lay in confronting the origins of these internal programs. They spoke of the need to heal the inner child, not as a psychological concept alone, but as an energetic imperative, integrating the fragmented parts, releasing the held tension, reclaiming the spontaneous flow of energia cosmica that was stifled. Some textos prohibidos whisper of specific rites or practices designed to address these energetic imprints from youth, viewing them as primary blocks to higher states of consciousness. They suggest that much of what we perceive as fate or personality is merely the playing out of these deep, early conditionings, constantly draining our energetic reserves and keeping us tethered to lower frequencies of experience. Could it be that the very structure of human society, particularly in its early formative environments, is unknowingly, or perhaps even deliberately, designed to create these energetic vulnerabilities? To ensure that the vast majority remain in a state of perpetual energetic deficit, too depleted to explore the true mysterious occultos, too weary for the demanding work of alchemy interior? What if the triggers we discussed are merely the surface manifestation of these deeply ingrained childhood programs designed to keep us cycling in reactivity? But how does this energy leakage manifest in our interactions with others? Ah, yes, the external stage where the inner drama plays out. You see, the world beyond your skin is not merely a neutral backdrop, a collection of random events or passive objects. The Sabadoria Ancestral, whispered in hushed tones across forgotten eras, spoke not of external fortune or misfortune in isolation, but as direct emanations of the internal landscape. They understood that reality is not merely perceived, but actively constructed and reflected by your fundamental energetic state. It is a vast, intricate energetic mirror. Most people grasp its superficial notions, thinking that focusing on acquiring wealth will manifest money, or desiring love will conjure a partner. But the Mysterios Occultos reveal a deeper truth. Mirror reflects not your transient thoughts or fleeting desires, but the vibration of your being. It reflects the resonant frequency generated by the sum total of your energetic imprints, those very patterns laid down in the crucible of your earliest experiences, amplified or diminished by every subsequent choice, every unhealed wound, every spark of awareness or lingering shadow. Imagine your energetic body as a complex instrument, constantly broadcasting a unique frequency. The external reality, this grand cosmic ocean, responds to that frequency. If the instrument is discordant, riddled with the static of past trauma, vibrating with a low hum of fear, scarcity, or unworthiness ingrained since childhood, the mirror will show you scenarios, relationships, and challenges that resonate with that discord. It doesn't reflect what you want intellectually. It reflects what you are energetically. This is why simply changing your thoughts often yields only temporary shifts, like polishing a tarnished mirror without addressing the source of the tarnish. True and lasting transformation, the alchumia, interior, demands working at the level of energy, at the very vibration you emanate. The Textos Prohibidos hint at ancient practices not just for cleansing the aura, but for fundamentally altering the energetic signature, recognizing that this is the prerequisite for altering the reflected reality. They speak of the need to harmonize the internal instrument so that it broadcasts frequencies of abundance, love, health, and opportunity, knowing that the external mirror must then respond in kind. The persistent challenges you face, the recurring patterns in your relationships, the limitations you encounter, look closely. Are they not echoing the energetic disharmony within? Are they not showing you, with brutal honesty, the precise nature of the blocks, fears, or unresolved energies you carry? The aggressive boss, the unreliable friend, the financial struggle. These are not random external forces acting upon you. They are the universe showing you the quality of the energia cosmica you are projecting. They are reflections of your internal energetic state, demanding attention, demanding healing, demanding the arduous alchemical work needed for true Illuminicall spiritual, which begins with seeing the self reflected in the world, to break free. From these cycles is not to change the reflection directly. You cannot alter the image by manipulating the mirror's surface. It is to change the source of the reflection, the internal energetic being. It is to understand that the external problem is merely a symptom, a signpost pointing to the internal energetic cause. But how does one even begin to identify these deep-seated energetic patterns? How does one look past the reflection and into the nature of the mirror itself? And if our reality is so perfectly mirroring our inner state, what happens when that inner state shifts dramatically, perhaps, to a conscious act of will or a profound awakening? What possibilities then begin to flicker in the reflection? And here, my friend, we touch upon one of the most profound and often overlooked siphons of our vital force. Consider the self you present to the world, the carefully curated responses, the agreeable mask, the professional persona, the who you believe others expect you to be, or the who you constructed, brick by weary brick. to survive a hostile environment, to gain acceptance in a world that seemed to demand a particular mold. Is that truly you, at your core, the pure energetic signature? Or is it a complex edifice built from fear, expectation, and adaptation? This constructed identity, this performance of being, requires an enormous, continuous expenditure of energia cosmica. Think of it as a perpetual act of subtle suppression and projection. You are constantly monitoring, filtering impulses, shaping. Words modulating your very vibration to fit the contours of this external shell. Every interaction becomes a subtle performance, a dance where the authentic self is held captive behind the curtain, while the actor takes center stage. The strain of this, though often unconscious, is immense. It is like running a sophisticated machine designed for effortless flow on thick, resistant oil. The friction, the resistance, the sheer effort involved in maintaining this artifice. This is the silent theft of your energetic reserves. Many of the textos prohibidos hint at this, speaking of the garments of skin we wear, the false coverings that obscure the true light. The Sabiduría ancestral across diverse traditions recognized that the fragmented, ego-driven self, built on external validation or internal fear, was a major impediment to higher states. It is a form of energetic dissonance. The universe, in its infinite honesty, reflects this dissonance back to you in the form of fatigue, anxiety, recurring conflict, the feeling of being perpetually drained, but unsure why. The Mysterios Occultos speak of the double, or the shadow self, not just as hidden aspects, but as the energy bound up in maintaining these very facades. This effort is not a one-time act. It is a constant energetic bleed. It prevents the natural circulation of your energia cosmica, diverting it from the alchemia interior, necessary for growth, for healing, for the full blossoming of your potential, for the very journey towards Illuminacal Espiritual, the energy that could fuel creation, deep connection, or profound insight is instead consumed in the tiring task of holding up a mask that is not your own faced out. So, when the mirror of reality shows you exhaustion, limitation, or misalignment, ask yourself, what identity am I clinging to? What performance am I still giving, even when the audience has left? And if the mere act of being a false self is such a profound drain, what boundless reserves lie waiting just beneath the surface, freed when the courage to shed the skin finally arrives? What new reality could the universe then reflect? Observe the subtle whispers of your being, the signs etched not just upon the face or in the slump of the shoulders, but deep within the energetic matrix. This constant exhaustion you feel, it is not merely the weariness of the flesh after a long day. It is a deeper depletion, the vital energia cosmica siphoned away, diverted from its natural course of nourishment and growth. Where does it go? Often, it fuels the very mechanisms of your own disease, the intricate internal machinery built to maintain appearances, to defend perceived vulnerabilities, to uphold identities that are not authentically yours. The Sabiduría ancestral always cautioned against such energetic expenditures. They understood the cost of living a life fragmented, a life at odds with the soul's truth. Consider the surge of emotional reactivity, the disproportionate response to minor irritations, the sudden storms of anger or waves of despair that seem to erupt without a clear external trigger. This is a sign of porous energetic boundaries, of a vital core no longer held firm by the inner structure. When the internal connection is severed or weakened, you become hypersensitive to the energetic currents around you, tossed about like a fragile vessel on a tempestuous sea. It speaks of that profound internal disconnection, the chasm that opens between mind, body, and spirit. You feel adrift, a stranger in your own skin, observing life as if from a distance, inhabiting the state of living on autopilot. This isn't living. It is merely existing on momentum, The engine running, but the driver absent, consuming fuel, but going nowhere consciously. And then there are the patterns, are there not? The same relationship dramas, the same financial struggles, the same career dead ends, the same internal conflicts repeating with maddening predictability. This repetition is not cosmic punishment. It is the universe presenting the same energetic instruction manual again and again, hoping you will finally read it. These patterns are manifestations of the energetic blockages, the places where Energia Cosmica is stagnant or flowing backward, trapped by unresolved trauma, unconscious beliefs, or persistent resistance to change. The Textos Prohibidos often, feared for their power, sometimes hint at how these energetic loops can become self-reinforcing, creating a feedback mechanism that trains the system further, making Alquimia Interior seem an impossible dream, Illuminica Espiritual a distant, unattainable light. The Misterios Occultos whisper that recognizing these patterns for what they truly are, signals of energy loss, calls for profound redirection, is the first step out of the labyrinth. But if these are the signs, what are the sources? What practices, conscious or unconscious, permission given or stolen, lead to this profound internal drought? Ah, yes, the sources. Having glimpsed the patterns, the energy-draining loops that keep the vessel on autopilot, we must ask how this energy is lost, how these patterns become so deeply etched into the very fabric of our being. One of the most insidious culprits, often cloaked in the guise of spontaneity or even authenticity, is the state of unthinking, unexamined reaction. Consider the myriad moments of your day, your interactions, your internal landscape. How often do you react? A word triggers an immediate emotional surge. An unexpected event elicits an instant jolt of fear or anger. A reflection in the mirror prompts a reflexive wave of self-judgment. This is not conscious living. This is merely being ping-ponged by external stimuli and internal echoes, a pinball machine of the psyche. Each one of these unmanaged reactions, these knee-jerk spasms of mind and emotion, represents a significant expenditure, a leakage of Energia Cosmica. It is as if the very life force meant for creation, for insight, for profound Alquimia Interior, is instead siphoned off, burning brightly but briefly in the fires of fleeting frustration, phantom offense, or baseless anxiety. Sabiduria Ancestral, across countless traditions and veiled teachings, speaks not of suppressing emotion, for that too is a form of internal resistance, but of transcending the automaticity of reaction. It is the cultivation of the pause, the sacred space, between stimulus and what comes next. In that pause lies the potential to shift from a mere reaction, born of unhealed wounds, ingrained habits, and unconscious programming, to a conscious response. A response is chosen. A reaction is compelled. One empowers, the other enslaves. Misterios Occultos emphasize that reclaiming this lost energy begins with becoming an unwavering observer of your own inner mechanism. To watch, without judgment, the impulse to react arise. To feel the heat of anger, the cold grip of fear, the sharp pang of envy, but to see it merely as energy moving, not as a command to be instantly obeyed. This requires a profound discipline, a turning inward that many find more challenging than any external feat. The Textos Prohibidos, in fragments that have survived millennia of suppression, hint at practices designed precisely for this. Exercises. In stillness, in breath control, in focused awareness that quiet the reactive mind and allow the deeper, conscious self to emerge. They speak of this state of non-reaction as not passive surrender, but active mastery, the forging of an inner core impervious to the chaotic winds of circumstance. This conscious observation, this choosing not to immediately discharge energetic responses, is not about becoming inert. It is about redirecting that potent Energia Cosmica towards Illuminica Espiritual, towards genuine transformation, towards the deliberate crafting of your reality rather than merely suffering the default one. It is the foundational step in many paths of alchemia interior, transmuting the lead of automatic emotional and mental reactivity into the gold of conscious presence and potent action. When you cease to bleed energy through constant unconscious reaction, that energy becomes available. Available for what? Available for deeper sight, for true healing, for accessing the hidden reservoirs within you. But if reaction is merely the symptom, the outward expression of this energy drain, what then is the root? What lies beneath the surface of these automatic impulses, compelling them into existence, driving the relentless engine of energy loss? Perhaps the root is not a singular entity, but a deep-seated forgetting, a severance from the very Sabadoria ancestral that whispers of our true nature, a veil born of fear, obscuring the mysterios occultos of our own being, causing the energia cosmica to dissipate through the cracks of an unacknowledged identity. The Textos Prohibidos do not merely offer techniques for reaction mastery. They are maps to remembering, guides to the alchemia interior necessary to dissolve this veil, paving the way for genuine Illuminaka is spiritual. They suggest the deepest energy leak is not the reaction itself, but the fundamental misunderstanding of who is reacting, from what wellspring of being that energy originates. But if reaction is the symptom and forgetting the potential cause, what then is the primary fear that drives this forgetting, this unconscious act of self-severance? What is the original wound? Share your thoughts below, your own reflections on this enigmatic process. Subscribe to continue this exploration with US as our next conversation delves deeper into uncovering this root, peeling back another layer of the mystery.